Now, one of the problems that I see in marketing and advertising today is that the messages are too explicit. They're too easy for the viewer or the consumer to decipher. I'm thinking that the messages need to be actually more implicit. That is, that we need to get messages across to the consumer so that, okay, they're going to be aware, right, that they're being sold something. There's no getting around that. There's no getting around the fact that we're marketing to people. However, if the message has an implicit meaning, that is, we're talking about things that we're not stating but implied via our statements or via our messages, then that's going to have a much deeper impact. So even though the consumer knows they're being sold something, they're going to have a kind of an intangible feeling that a need is being met, which makes them feel a lot happier and a lot more receptive about the messages that are basically coming across. So it's okay to recognise things as being sales tools. It's okay to recognise advertising. There's no way around that. But if it touches that emotional chord and if it has that kind of implicit effect, then that means that, okay, you're selling me something, but you're not explicitly trying to sell me something. And that's actually a very, very powerful thing to achieve for marketing. So what we're really saying is that what you don't say, right, or what you don't say, or what you imply, not what you say explicitly, is actually more important to the viewer and to the actual consumer. And this is actually a paradox. It's a real paradox to say that. But as you'll see in the course of what we're going to talk about today is that marketing and advertising and consumers are full of these paradoxes, and understanding these paradoxes is actually going to be something very, very important for today. Yeah. So the message that you create, the explicit verbalization of the message that you create, that's not the important part. The important part is not what you say, but what you don't say, what is actually implied. And this is basically where this whole theory of binary comes from, the 0 and the 1. The 0 can't exist without the 1 can't exist without the 0. What you don't say or what you imply cannot exist unless you actually get a message across and you actually say something. What we're saying is nothing more than an excuse to actually imply something. Now, the word imply is very important in research and marketing and advertising because that's where the word implication comes from. And we're constantly looking for, what are we looking for? Implications. Implications mean I'm implying something. Are we sure that we're implying the right things? Are we actually even forgotten that the implication is actually something more important than the verbalization? So there's the paradox. The only way we can imply something is by saying something, right? And this is actually the function, one of the functions of Brand Odyssey. One of the functions of Brand Odyssey is to understand what is being implied by the message that you're actually creating.